appears that the Labour front is beginning to shake. This mounting pressure, and of course a lot happening, particularly as the National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, has announced that it is beginning a series of industrial actions aimed at piling pressure on government to pay them what they call the cost of living allowance COLA. Already, that warning is beginning to turn into action as the unions are beginning to sound the alarm bells. NAT were the first when the General Secretary, Thomas Musa, warned that the union may not be able to control the anger of its members across the country anymore after waiting on government for long. He even warned that hardship faced by teachers has implications for the country's security.
The reason why the welfare matters are critical now is because we are dealing with national security matters at this particular time and era of our existence. And our security men all over the place, they are on alert. Citizens are also being called upon to be on alert, so that if we see anything, they say see something, you say see something, you say something. Yeah. Now, we cannot engage in the national security dialogue by not taking into consideration the human security. The human security is an integral part of national security. And so, because it is an integral part of it, it is something that we need to address it as quickly as possible, because it could have serious implications on our national security. We are in an era where the basic necessities of workers is going beyond what they can afford. Shelter is going way overboard. Water, food, clothing, and other utility, the electricity bill, all over. Everything that the worker will need or the teacher will need to survive is seriously challenged. And so we are saying that we should not wait for workers or particularly teachers begin to agitate before they respond.
What's the level of force being exerted or the pressure exerted on you by your members that you should do something, engage government to do something about, since it has to do with national security concern? I
can tell you on authority, there is an uneasy calm. Okay, I've told you already that we are coming from a background of 4% and 7%. That didn't sit well with workers. And almost every time, they keep on calling us. The pressure is coming day and night. There is pressure on us. And that is why at this particular point in time, it has become necessary to draw attention to these things, that we are dealing with the issues of human security. And workers are seriously challenged regarding the issue of water, regarding the issue of food, regarding the issue of clothing, regarding the issue of transportation, regarding the issue of paying their light bills, taking care of their families, and on all the other variables that will enable an individual put himself together. Everything is challenged, and we are calling upon the employer and particularly the government to do something about this thing.
You spoke about it on the May Day celebration, where you were asking for government to introduce the cost of living allowance, popularly known as COLA. Are you telling us that there are no conversations around it so far?
There is no conversation, to the best of my knowledge. We've not had any conversation about it. The only thing that is being done now is the issue of the minimum wage. And even that one, it has not yet been concluded. So if the minimum wage has not been concluded, when will the compensation for 2023 be concluded? Because you see, by the Public Financial Management Act 2016, the compensation for each financial year should be completed by April. We have gone past April. We are currently in June. So when will this thing be completed? And then we get it done. And these are the things we are talking about. That there is an uneasy calm. And I repeat, there is an uneasy calm. Because the background where we are coming from is not good. Workers were giving 4% and 7%. Inflation has eroded all the figures that we went to negotiate for. And it is for this reason, and among others, that on 1st May, we articulated the concerns of Ghanaian worker to the President of the Republic.
Are there some push or a level of push from your members for you to stage a demonstration? Because I heard the TUC General Secretary making it unequivocal during the May Day celebration that you'll be left with no other option than to, hit the streets. Are you getting there?
The workers are that's what I'm saying. That's what I use the word on easy come. Okay? The workers felt that, look, things are not going the way they expected and all that, but we keep on giving them hope. But in as much as we are giving them hope, we believe that the Ghana National Association of Teachers believe that the time has come that we draw the attention of government to it, particularly because we are dealing with the issues of national security and human security being one of the things that workers, teachers are going through now. We are saying that let us address these issues now in the interest of all of us.
What do you want government to do now?
Yes, the major thing now is that, look, the issue of COLA has come up and the issue of the base pay has come up. Discussion should commence. We should not, without any further delay. Look, when you hear in things of national security, do you wait? When somebody is talking about issues of national security, do you wait? You don't wait. Because you know that any delay on matters of national security, any delay could have serious implications on the entire nation. And it is for that reason why we are saying that we are dealing with human security, which could have, or which could have a serious implication on national security. And so let us come together and get it done as soon as possible. Look at the issue of the COLA that has been raised and the issue of the base pay. And it's in the interest of all of us. They'll keeping silence over these things at this particular point in time will not be good for any.
Are there hints as to how much government will want to add to the base pay or the minimum pay? The last time at the May Day celebration, you said you were getting snipers of information that it is not going to be increased astronomically, and your demand was that it should be above the current inflation rate. Are you getting any information as to where they are pegging it?
No, it is not the matter of getting information. It is just a matter of letting government know that given the position and the current economic environment, inflation should be our guide. Why? Because 2021, we went in for 4%. 2022, we went in for 7%. And that it was a difficult thing. But because of the difficulties we were in, we accepted it. This particular time, we believe that it is time for the tears, the pain, and the difficulties and challenges of workers. Let's put some smiles on their face around this time, particularly because of the human security matters we are talking about here, which could have serious implications on our national security. So please, we need to do something, and the time to act is now o'clock. Let us not wait for this uneasy come to turn to another thing before we say we want to act. It will not help anybody.
Well, there's more on this because the real action is beginning. The National Association of Graduate Teachers, NAGRAT, is not just playing on words, but beginning a series of actions to force government to pay the conditions of service allowance. Here's NAGRAT Vice President Jacob Anaba.
At this conference, serving notice to those who matter that their ineptitude towards the call by the union to grant COLA to the suffering Ghanaian worker is leaving us no alternative than to respond to the incessant demands of our members. We therefore demand that, as a matter of urgency, the government must grant workers a cost of living allowance, COLA, of 20% at the end of June 2022. Secondly, we demand that the National Tripartite Committee, a body mandated by law per Section 113 of the Labour Act 2003, Act 651, must, as a matter of urgency, determine the new minimum wage for the year 2023 by the middle of June 2022. Thirdly, the Public Sector Joint Negotiation Committee must kick-start processes for the determination of base pay for the year 2023 before before 30th June 2022. Leadership will be left with no option than to declare a strike by the end of July 2022 if all the requests made are not adhered to. Please let me repeat this for the hearing of the good people of Ghana. Leadership would be left with no option than to declare a strike by the end of July 2022 if all the requests made are not adhered to. We therefore, as leaders, yield to the demands of our members for positive action, beginning with the wearing of red bands by the end of 2022 if the demands made are not met. June 2022. We further instruct all our regional and zonal secretariat to hoist red flags in front of our offices with immediate effect.
We're asking that question, how does the future look like? Let's engage the parties involved in all of this and try as much as possible to understand what it is that the concerns are. Joining me now is Jacob Anaba, NAGRAT Vice President. He's in studio with us. Plus on Zoom, we have Austin Game. He's a labor dispute resolution expert. He'll be here helping us out with the technicalities involved here, and a former member of parliament and former deputy employment and Deputy Employment Minister would also be joining us here on the poll. So we'll do all of that briefly, but let me welcome you, Mr. Naba, into our studios.
Thank you.
So we just heard excerpts of your press conference there. Has anything changed? And I'm presuming that a lot of talks are still ongoing. Has anything changed from the last press conference you did and sitting right here in the studios with us?
Thank you very much. We had a press conference this morning. And I've been invited this afternoon. I haven't heard anything, so nothing has changed. We are still on course on our demands. We are hoping that something will change by the close of day. As you are aware, the Ghanaian worker has been patiently waiting for government to make an announcement that at least take this to cushion yourself in this moment of hardship. We are not hearing it, and this is the time to act. In fact, it was at the May Day that we were very hopeful because the president was there when the Secretary General made the announcement that we needed some cushioning in the form of COLA, cost of living allowance. So we're expecting something to kickstart. We waited for a month and over.
And some say you don't need to look into that crystal ball to tell what the posture of government is. Even right there at the May Day celebration, you heard from the president. He's talked about how government is faced with a lot of challenges in terms of expenditure. Are you not worried that your concerns are rather coming at an unfortunate time?
You see, one of the motivations for a worker is the pay, the salary. And even what you say to that effect can motivate the worker. As we speak, workers are not very, very stable, psychologically, mentally, and whatever. So their output is not the best. It is in the interest of all of us to ensure that at least something is done to cushion the worker. Something must be said. Since May 1st, we haven't heard a word from any minister or from the president. So that is demoralizing. Okay,
so if I should understand the claims very well, what you're indicating is that although we may be having economic difficulties, government should come halfway.
We should sit at the table and talk.
Meet your,
we have to talk.
Your demands.
We need to talk.
Why is the talks not? Why are these talks not happening?
That is where our
have you made attempts to reach out to the Finance Ministry and the Employment and Labour Relations Ministry?
Usually these things we give notice.
Right.
We did that since November last year. And a number of unions have also done. The last one was Forum. They had a press conference, and that should be enough for ministry to hear.
Right.
So we expect them to call for that engagement. It hasn't happened.
Is it that your relations have not been the best?
No, I don't think, no. We have a very good relationship.
Okay, we'll be moving into the key demands you're making, and probably we'll put some figures to it, but let's bring in Austin Game as well, who's a labor dispute resolution expert. Mr. Game, the writings are on the wall for another set of labor disputes, and this actually is just a follow-up from what we experienced at the tertiary level. Now, at the basic and senior high school levels, it looks like NAGRAT lazing their boots. How do we avert that disaster in that sector as well?
Thank you, and thank you for having me. My brother, thank you. I've heard you. Now, to be very honest with you, I'm a little puzzled by the fact that since May 1st, when these concerns were raised by organized labor, nothing meaningful has been done. Our Labor Act is very clear. I heard my brother Jacob quoted it properly. This is the only nation under the sun that has a very clear-cut provision in its Labor Act, making room for the National Tripartite Committee to be established and giving them specific functions under Section 113, as he rightly quoted, subsection C. It says that the welfare and the economic importance of the nation should be discussed at the National Tripartite Committee meeting. I recall the Americans were saying that they are jealous of our law in respect of this matter. So the proactivity on the part of the employer, and in this case, let's call him employer, not necessarily government. Government is a political entity. Right. But as employer, you have a responsibility to ensure that you engage your people, because for lack of inclusivity, you can have people taking action, you can call it unilateral, but you give them the opportunity to do that. So saying they're going to be hoisting red flag, which is potentially a strike, because under Section 1273 of our Labor Act, right, you are not supposed to threaten each other, but you are giving them opportunity. They should have called them, and it's not late. I know my colleagues at the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations are very serious people. They should immediately call for a National Tripartite Committee meeting, and let this not be necessarily focusing on national daily minimum wage, because the obvious thing is that we have an inflationary thing on our hand. We have spiralizing kind of cost of living getting out of hand. And so it's for the employer to just invite them to a meeting and have this conversation. It's not a debate, it's not an argument for somebody to win and somebody losing, so that they can focus on the needful, because they should be happy that they are asking for cost of living allowance, as it were, COLA, and not necessarily an astronomical increase in pay.
And
because
some say
that
and some say at this point that, in fact, looking at the economic figures, there's no way government will say that the labor unions are not justified in their new demands.
It's obvious. That's why from the word go, I started calling for this COLA long time, because if they should go in for a general pay increase, what it will mean is that every 1% adjustment will send us to another inflationary level, right? Which is possible. It's for the employer to sit with them and be genuine, ensuring that inclusivity is not a figure of speech. It must be something doable. We appear to be either joking or not being serious too much, and it's about time they get seated. We are many in the country. We are all available. We can be of help in any way possible.
Well, Mr. Gambe, just hold on for us. Jacob is still here with us, so let's try and understand your posture on this matter. And you heard Mr. Gambe talk about that, the need for the employer, governments in this case, to sit down with leadership and discuss and dialogue on the way forward. But beyond that, there's also the possibility, and then, I mean, the possible outcomes that you may face on that table when you get there negotiating with government. The fact that government may open up to you and tell you about how difficult it will be trying to meet your demands. So how much time do you have if government is to defer the payment of this condition, cost of living allowance?
The most important thing is to get to the table first. When you get to the table and they put their cards, we also have our cards.
Yeah, but how much time
we have given them up to the end of this month, June. In fact, we are calling for the National Tripartite Committee to make a decision on the minimum wage by the middle of this month. It has delayed. It should have been in April.
Right.
It hasn't been done because that is how government will use to factor in its budgeting. And that also affects the base pay, which actually affects me directly. So when we get to the table and they put their cards,
but let's try and put some figures to it. So, for instance, you're demanding a change in the base pay.
That is cost of living allowance.
Yeah, right. But then you're also making a case to the tripartite commission.
That one,
that's a separate.
That one is enshrined in law.
Okay.
The Labor Act. There is no debate about it.
It's not in dispute, except
it's
that
not in dispute.
The
amount, yes.
Right.
We remember last year we were giving 7%.
Okay.
And we said that this year we are going for at least the minimum of the inflationary rate, which is 23.6.
So if you were to do that permutation, what would be the implication, for instance, for an average person?
Oh, yeah. I mean, something that will send you home, that you should be able to take care of your family, and also have that stable mind to do your work well. That is all we are looking for.
Is it your argument that where you are now and where we find most of your members in terms of their pay grade, they are not able to, finance the cost of living?
Some have to ask their wives to go back to the villages, those who are in the cities, because the amount that they take at the end of the month is not able to take care of the household. Lorry fare alone is taking almost everything, feeding. So it is a real hardship that we're going through. And that's a reality. So something must be added so that he will be able to...
Practically, how is that affecting the discharge of your duties?
Can you imagine that you are leaving for work in the morning and your wife asks you to give money to take care of the needs in the house, and you are not able to pull out that money? Will you be able to go and stand in front of the student and teach? You need that mind, that stable mind to be able to deliver when we are standing before the children.
So the expectation is that if nothing is done, we may go into a situation where even the learning outcomes may not be desirable.
Definitely. I mean, the whole productive sector of the country will go down. It will affect our GDP at the end of the day.
So how many members are we talking about now? How many members of your group are you making this case for that there's a need for some changes in their pay?
240,000 teachers.
240,000.
We are over 300,000 GES workers. But our members are over 40,000. That's NAGRAT. But we are talking for the Ghanaian worker. Because if they increase the pay, it will affect everyone.
Jacob, good to be having you here, but we also know that Thomas Musa, who's the General Secretary of NAT as well, is joining us. Mr. Musa, thank you for joining us here on the poll. So we're just taking off on the directive that most of the teacher unions are giving to your members, asking them to begin to silently withdraw your services. Not necessarily, that may happen at the end of next month, but why are you making all of these directives? Why are you directing your members to begin the industrial protest?
So thank you very much. And I extend all greetings to all the viewers and to my brother Anava in the studio. My brother and comrade, I salute you.
I respond, sir.
Please, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear.
I salute.
I respond, sir.
Yes, I salute you. Good. I think for some time now we've been talking about issues of national security.
Right.
Now, one of the key requirements about national security has to do with the issue of human security. And the cliche is that see something, say something. You see something, you say something. So we are in period where, in terms of the human security that we are talking about, it has to do with the basic necessities of life, such as water, electricity, transport, shelter, clothing, among others. All these things are escalating everywhere teachers go. and for that matter, the Ghanaian worker. Now, if we say that you see something and you say something, this is a key requirement that we need to take a second look at. Particularly, I made an analogy somewhere that don't let us forget that it was because of water that Moses could not get to the promised land. Water, basic necessity. When the devil met Jesus, he told me to turn stones into bread. So we are in an era where the workers are hard pressed and prices and everything around the worker, everything is going up. And last month, we articulated all these concerns that look, there's something must be done to cushion the current sufferings of workers. But it looks like these things have gone unresponded, or we have not received any response. Don't let us also forget that in 2021, we went in for 4%. Then in 2022, it was 7%. So we are having a budget or a historical antecedent that is not good. And our members cannot easily forget, to the extent that they have named the leaders 4%. Wherever we go, they call us 4%.
Right.
Reminding us that they cannot easily forget about 2021 and 2022. And so owing to the current sufferings and the challenges regarding the human security, which has to do with the basic necessities of life, we are asking that, look, as a matter of agency, and as one of the key requirements, government should actually pushing workers by 20% cooler thing we are talking about, and also ensure that we conclude on the issues of the not only of the minimum wage but also on the base pay for the 2023, so that we can all have an easy way going for everybody.
It appears that you all have a common position on this, but that will be weighing heavily on government. Mr. Game, if you're there, where do we go from here, and what's your expectation even from the labor unions themselves?
Well, I appreciate the concerns they have raised. To be honest with you, the onus lies squarely in the employer's hand. They are expected, like I said, to be proactive. This is not a time, this is 21st century, this is not 17th century, where an employer will hand down and say this is an employer's prerogative. Prerogative is yesterday's manner. We are in a state where it must be nothing but ensuring that people are included in the decision-making process.
But how about patience?
Fortunately, we have
how about patience? Just a little patience on the part of the labor unions.
Yeah, the patience depends on the employer's invitation to the table. Invite them to the table. Fortunately for us, the Constitution is that we took the Labor Act, as we were quoting, derives its authority from the 1992 Constitution. The directive principles of state policy principle is indivisible. You just have to stay with it and make sure that you do what is appropriate. We pick it from Article 36, 10, and 11 to ensure that communication do not become a figure of speech. You must invite the leadership of the working people to table, so you will have a simple conversation and let them know the consequences of doing A, B, C, D. They are human beings, they are leaders, they'll be patient. They've already demonstrated that last year by getting 4% and by getting 7%. It became a problem for them, but they scaled through. So it is for the employer to take the appropriate step now. Don't wait, and now that they are putting pressure on you, because they are also having backlash from their members, you don't have to wait for 5 minutes. If I were to be them tonight, there'll be a meeting.
And I guess that's stemming from the kind of service that we have these teacher unions providing.
You know something? These are people who are part and parcel of the teaching fraternity. They are not just outsiders that have been invited to table. They are members of the teaching fraternity. And I remember workers don't retire on allowances and other things. They retire on their pay. Yeah. And many of them, after the 4 and the 7, retired. what will be their future? So it's better for the employer to be proactive, to be creative, and let's not be using these words as though it's just for formation of grammar and sentences. That's not the issue. The issue is about making sure that the creativity, the innovation, those things, those language that we use do not become just a figure of speech. It's real. And they know that as leaders, if the employer is telling them something that I know will be honestly said, they will know how to craft and inform their members about it. But if nothing is done and they start putting on red flag, then they are potentially on strike.
Mr. Game, help us understand this clearly. Is this just a teacher's quote-unquote problem, or this is a problem that runs through the entire public service, the issue about the pay grade and the quality of the conditions of service?
Strangely, it's not even for the public and civil service alone.
Okay.
Even I'm an employer myself. I have workers. And I can tell you, they also put pressure on me, but I have been engaging them in one way or the other. It may not be sufficient, but if they see your honesty and your integrity and the way you carry yourself about, they know how to go with you. But if you are demonstrating a certain lifestyle, you are demonstrating your inability to prove to them that you share their concerns with them, they may not carry you along. They may rather want you to carry them. And that way, it will be very tough. At the moment, the way forward is to go talking about a kind of restoration, because they are asking for base pay increase, which is justifiable, because without the pay increase, people are going to retire on what they were earning. And it's very dangerous for their future and their children.
In fact, so there's another worry.
We need to demonstrate that.
In fact, there's another worry that if government is not able to deal with the concerns now, if these teacher unions go on strike, it may take a longer time for government to get them back in the classrooms.
Yeah, and that's why proactivity is not just a question of we will try. We will try. No, it's not about trying. This is not the time for trying. I agree that putting on red band, threatening, press conferences and so forth is not in tandem with the Labour Act. I agree. But what else is open to them? There appear to be no invitation to the table. Let them invite them to the table. It's 24/7. It's not about we'll do it next week. It's 24/7. What it means is that a letter has been dispatched already. What it means is that my colleagues at the ministry and the Ministry of Finance, people should prioritize this. When they go on strike, it will hurt all of us. It's not about the teachers. It's not about the students. It's about the entire country. I know the president is a gentleman that keeps his word. So he should take steps and ensure that things are done and done well. And we are all available, including you. We can all be of help.
Yeah, I hope that I could play my role there. But you're the expert. You're the expert in this, Mr. Game. Let me bring in Jacob as well. You've listened to Mr. Game. The point about the posture of government. Has it been difficult trying to work out, negotiation or some terms and conditions with government?
You see, where we sit, we cannot invite government to the table. They have to invite us. And we have not been invited and we refuse going. So we are ready. As he said, 24/7. Anytime we are called upon, we will go to the table and have a discussion.
So, you should be putting up some plans right now, timelines as to when you intend to do what, because it appears that it will be gradual. You start with the processes, wearing of armbands. What's next after that?
No, it's clearly stated in our press statement. We are giving government by the middle of this month to make a decision on the minimum wage. By the end of this month, he should give us the COLA of 20%. Then the July ending, we should have the base pay decided, because it's for next year. So we should have the COLA from June onwards. If that is not done by July ending, they will declare a nationwide strike.
Okay, so which means that there are some activities that may be happening in between that
yes.
period.
At the end of June, we are asking that we hoist the red flags in our various secretariat offices, and we start wearing red bands, like he indicated. It's a form of strike. So that will be the beginning of our activities. So it means that the beginning of July, we start moving and mobilizing our members to understand the course that we are taking.
Do we know the amount involved and what you're seeking?
The amount
in
of
all?
money?
Yeah.
No,
but for how long have you been on government's neck over this?
Last year, when we realized that prices of goods and services were going up, we made a call. And I think early this year, when the inflation rate, went very high, we realized that no, our money, as we speak, Masari is gone by quarter. It means that the purchasing power of Masari is gone by quarter. So I need that money to replace. If not, I cannot bear.
And I'm sure that you've heard this argument, the fact that what's happening in terms of our inflation is externally influenced. Don't you feel that some of these factors may change in the coming days, for which you may gain more purchasing
let's
power?
sit down.
and then
when we have the talk, when we start the discussion, it changes. During the talking, we can abandon the discussion and go home. If it changes,
but for now, it doesn't.
No, there's no way. We are really suffering.
Are you doing this together with all the other teacher unions? Are you stating a common position on this?
Musa is leading NAT. Okay. We are leading NAGRAT. Okay. We have CCT. We have TEU.
All of them have the same,
yes, we indicated that. And the TUC Secretary General, he made the call during the May Day celebration at the Independence Square, where the president was present. He made the call. That means our spokesperson, the mouthpiece of the organized labor, has made that call. And we are feeling the pinch so much.
Well, Mr. Musa, you're also there. We're hearing from Jacob now that you have a common position on this matter. So are you going to join forces? What should we expect jointly from all of the teacher unions?
We've always been working together. And we sent a letter some time back, I think somewhere in March or so, we sent a letter to the Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations regarding this particular issue. But you see, it's very, very important for us to note the Public Financial Management Act of 2016.
Okay.
It provides that by April ending, we should have concluded the issue of the negotiation. As we speak now, we are in June. And we've not even concluded the minimum wage. And thereafter, we'll come to talk about the issue of the base pay.
Right.
The other thing, as we keep on delaying all those, like I've told you, we have a baggage and other. There is an uneasy calm among our members. So what you have heard us articulating now is what our members the kind of pressure, challenges, and issues that our members are raising. The third thing to also put across is that look, whatever a worker is taking today will have serious implications with what the worker will go home with. That is why we've consistently been saying that the pension, the money that the worker goes home with, that's the pension. We have described by Kofi Okowu, because when you go home, the kind of strength you had when you were in your working life, you don't have that particular strength.
Right.
So you need money to take care of your health. You need money to take care of your basic necessities of life. If you don't have that money, I have said it elsewhere, that even if God has given you 80 years, or even 80 years, or let me take the minimum, or let me say even 70 years, the economic challenges alone and the amount of money you will take home alone is enough to kill you at age 62 or even 63. Less that particular 7 years that God has even given to you. So please, when you are talking about the issue of the monthly salaries, we cannot decouple it from pension. And these are critical matters to ensure that when a worker is going home, it is not only for today, but when the worker is going home, the worker should be able to go and take care of his family and with himself. And so the teacher unions, we are working together, and in the coming days, we will decide, like my brother Anaba is saying, we will put all these things together and we take the suffering they're going through.
Okay, and that's why I want to bring in Jacob back again, the point about life after teaching. It appears that it's part of the reasons why you're making a case that this be settled for all of your members in terms of the conditions.
Yes. Like
life after teaching is not too good?
It's not too good at all. I mean, because if your salary is that low, the pension is also very low. And you know, when you are in that age, health issues and so many issues that come up, it's difficult.
So for instance, what we're talking about, those who enjoyed the 4% will retire on that benefit.
That increase.
Try and break that down for us. How does it work? It means that you go home at that level. What normally happens?
You go home at that level. That is the amount that you ended with. That will be used to do the calculation for your retirement. So if it is very high, it means that you get a very high amount when you are going on retirement. If it is low, you get a very small amount. So usually we do not want, like this COLA, it will not affect our pensions. It is something just to cushion us for that. It's a temporary measure. It's a temporary measure. But if there's an increase in our pay, that will affect our pension, and that will be good for the worker when you.
Okay, so which is also part of the components that you're making.
Yes, it's part of it. But for now, that one is mandatory.
Okay.
This one is because of the exigency of the situation, that the economic situation is said that you must cushion the worker now, or else we are not stable at the workplace, and it's not good for us as a country.
So I can guess that once you're dealt with COLA, you'll be chipping in the issue of.
No, like he said. By April, we should have made a decision on the minimum wage. We have not done that. Then after that will come.
It's coming, I guess.
I don't know when. I don't know when. I wish it had come.
Right.
We will not be talking about it today, but we pray that it will come within the shortest possible.
Mr. Game, the point about policy reforms, is this the time that we need immediate reforms on how we structure the labor front?
Of course. I mean, look, let me be very honest with you. We have not even started operating with the labor law yet. We are not. Okay. People need to be humble and be willing that we have X million number of adults in this country that have some knowledge and capability to help. We are not implementing the Labor Act. Otherwise, this meeting, this press conference will not have come on. I'm expecting that, again, within the next 48 hours latest, people are being invited to the table, frank and open conversation. All what I'm saying, I can quote it from the Labor Act for you. If you go to Section 9 of the Labor Act, is the duty of the employer. That's why we should not even mention government, because then to carry you into the dirty partisan politics.
Yeah. Right.
But this is purely employer as government doing its job. So it has nothing to do with the traditional so-called NDC, MPP nonsense. The reality here is that Section 9 of the Labor Act imposes on the employer as a responsibility to ensure that they engage their own workers and protect their interests, whilst they also, under Section 10, protect your interests. It's two-way traffic. But if it's one side, they will be compelled, knowing that they don't have the strength. The only thing they know is to say we are putting on red band.
Right.
And like I said, under Section 1273, potentially, once a worker put on red band, he's on strike. He's communicating a certain language to you. So I expect my colleagues at the ministry to immediately initiate the move to invite these gentlemen and ladies to the table and have a good conversation with them. It's not about debate and argument where somebody will win and somebody will lose. And I think they have the capacity to do it and come out with something meaningful, having in mind the economic. That's why 133, Section 113, subsection C is very clear that both parties are going there to discuss the economic and social importance. It's not about somebody wanting this and somebody not wanting to give this. What is it that we have? What can we do? If we do it, what will be the risk? All these things will be discussed and everybody will be at peace. Then we have a country to govern. Then we have free flow of information, and inclusivity will be seen working. Otherwise, it's just a figure of speech.
All right then. Austin Kame is a labor dispute resolution expert. Obviously, we'll definitely get back to you if there's any update on this, but we're grateful for your time. So let's wrap up with Thomas Musa, and also, so let me wrap up with you, Thomas Musa, and then I'll come back to Jacob for his final words. Okay, so Jacob, your final words as we wrap up on this.
The Ghanaian worker is suffering. The teacher is suffering more. Our pockets are empty. Government must do something now. We have no time. We are giving our indication. By June, if we don't hear anything, all our officers will start the red flags and we will start wearing it.
You're wearing one yourself?
I will start even before the June if the indications are not clear.
Right.
And when we start wearing red, it will be difficult to do our work.
Anyway, we're grateful, Jacob Wanama. Thank you for joining us.